guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm James, your everyday cook. Today we are making truffle, excusez-moi, lobster, macaroni and cheese. But before we do that, make sure you like this video, share it, obviously subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can come cook with me again. Let's go make some lobster macaroni and cheese. Okay. I'm just being silly today. Come cook with me. Okay, so the first thing for macaroni and cheese is the macaroni. So earlier, I cooked a box or a pound of cavatappi noodles. They're these little corkscrew noodles that I really like. They add a fun texture. They're kind of playful. They kind of seem to, I don't know, I just like them. Use whatever pasta you want. You can use shells, you can use macaroni, but I like the cavatappi. So it's one of my favorites when I used to work at a I guess a branded Italian, very famous restaurant. Cavatappi Amatriciana was one of my favorites that they had, so I'm kind of partial over cavatappi. So this has been boiled in salted water, no oil. I did rinse it under cold water and then kind of have kept it in cold water so they don't stick together. And then I just drained it. So that's our cavatappi noodles. The second thing that we have for our lobster macaroni and cheese is our Langostino lobsters. So they're basically like little baby lobster tails. You can use large lobster and chop it up. I saw this at the store this morning and a lot of stores have been out of them, so I grabbed it. So we have our little lobster tails. I have about 4 cups of milk, which is cold, but I will put in the microwave for about 3 minutes to take the chill off. I have some flour, some butter, and mustard. And mustard, you're like, why do you have mustard, James? Well, a little splash of mustard in mac and cheese makes it, I don't know what the chemistry is behind it, but it makes it really good. Oh, and also for macaroni and cheese, the cheese, which I forgot. That's why you mise en place. That's why you give everything in its place before you start a recipe. All right, so I have some Parmesan cheese. I have a leftover bit of mozzarella cheese, which I'll use. Typically, you don't want to use pre-shredded cheeses because it has like an anti-caking agent and can make it lumpy-gumpy, but I'll use this. I have some smoked Gouda left over from a charcuterie board, and then I have a block of extra sharp cheddar cheese, which we will use. Okay. So I do have a big stock pot heating up back here because before we make our sauce, these are just frozen that have thawed out, but I want to add like a little bit of color and some flavor to them, so I will saute them gently in some butter. I don't know if I want to cut them because I like them. I'm going to cut these in half because I like the chunks of lobster, but I want more lobster distributed throughout the mac and cheese, so I'm going to cut these in half really quick. Actually, while I do this, I'll throw in some butter so it can start to brown up. So about, I don't know, a teaspoon or so. Just whatever slice of butter you want, and I'll bring my camera over so you can see that once you get done. Oh, and I have my truffle oil in the cupboard, which I need to grab. And if you don't have truffle oil, perfectly fine. I just know one of my friends I'm actually making this for, we were talking about it yesterday or the day before, and they asked, do you know how to make lobster macaroni and cheese? I'm like, better yet, truffle. Oh yes, I want to taste that. So I'm actually making this for him tomorrow, so that's kind of nice. Shout out to my people that love lobster macaroni and cheese. It's one of my favorites. You can hear that butter sizzling in the background. Some of these are a little smaller, so I'll chop every single one of them up, but just wanted the bigger ones to be chopped up. Alright, so our milk is going in the microwave just to take the heat off of it, the chill off of it. The reason being is because when you add cold liquid to the roux that we'll be making to make our cheese sauce, when liquids are added to a roux and they're super cold, it can create lumps, and we're trying to make a nice, silky, smooth cheese sauce. So the milk just got done, the lobster's cut up, and we'll add this in the pan just for a couple minutes. Just want to clean up our area just a little. And obviously if this was raw lobster, or any type of seafood or meat, you want to definitely clean your cutting board, and you still want to clean your cutting board just in case there's no cross-contamination, and also your knife. So I'm going to clean up really quick. So that's working. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. So there's a lobster. I didn't realize how difficult it was to stir and film. Turn that up just a little bit. And then once that lobster does get a little bit of color, I will then start to make our roux. Hey guys, we are back. I have our sauteed little lobster bits from the pot that I sauteed just for a couple minutes in some butter, just to kind of wake them up, get them some butter flavor, make them extra delicious. I turned off my pot because we will use that in a second. But the next thing we need to do is shred our cheese. And so in previous videos, I typically use a food processor because that's what I have. I was going to shred it by hand, but I realized I don't have a box grater. I have a little grater, and it's going to hurt my little dainty wrist. So if you have a grater, use it. If not, I'm going to use my food processor just to make it a little quick. So I have a pound, 16 ounces of extra sharp white cheese. You can use the yellow cheddar, whatever you prefer. I saw this and thought it would be good. Again, control your knife when you're cutting these blocks. Had a mini panic attack because I thought I lost this that presses the cheese down, and I was going to have to grate it by hand, but I found this. So, so excited. So we'll grate our cheese. Delicious, fast, easy, efficient. And then remember the little block of Gouda I had from charcuterie, which is just meat and cheese platter. We are going to do that soon. I make a killer charcuterie board. And then, so our little, this is about 4 ounces of Gouda. Yum! And also, just like Parmesan, if you have like a cheese that has rind on it, I throw it in pasta sauce, and it kind of adds like a complexity of flavor, and then you just fish it out before you serve it. So save these. You can freeze them too, but I'm not making any of that. So that's that. And then I'm surprised Maggie isn't here because she loves cheese. She knows when cheese is occurring. All right. Okay, so now we'll make our roux. So a roux is equal parts of flour and butter, and you can cook it at certain stages, whether blonde, medium, dark roux, depending on the depth of flavor. Like gumbo, you cook roux really dark, and it creates like a really nice earthiness, smokiness, but for this, it's just a thickening agent, and that's all it is. So I'll turn my pot back up to medium, and I'll probably have to film this with my camera so you can see. So in the microwave, for a pound of pasta, the amount of cheese that we have, I did 4 cups of milk. And for every 2 cups, I do about a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of flour. That's kind of my ratio. So 2 cups of liquid milk, which we're making a bechamel, and tablespoon of flour, tablespoon of butter. So that's what we'll do. So actually, if it's a little bit more, who complains about more butter and macaroni and cheese? I don't know. But that's a good rule of thumb. So we have that, butter. Actually, this was from there. That's my knives. I'm going to be a busy dish person today, I can tell you that. Alright. So then, my flour's in there with 2 tablespoons, of flour. That's our ratio, 1 to 1. Skimpy on that one. Show you guys. There's our butter and our flour. Then we're actually just going to whisk this together. It's going to melt. And we're just going to cook it for about a minute or so, just to kind of get the flour off of the flour taste from the flour, obviously. The rawness of it all, I should say. So our roux is coming along, and that's what you want. You just want the flour to melt. It's getting kind of a nice golden brown color. There's still some residual flour from the lobster that we cooked in the same pan. So we're good there. And then our warm milk, which you would need to stir as you pour, but I'm filming myself, so that doesn't work all the time. That's why you don't want cold milk. So we're going to whisk that, whisk that, whisk that. Yum. And then we are going to wait till that thickens, and then we'll add the cheese, and we'll make our macaroni and cheese. Hey guys, welcome back. Our milk and roux have been thickening for a couple minutes. Actually, we'll turn that off. I've been stirring it with a whisk, just so nothing burns at the bottom. I'll show you a little cook cam. This is what our milk mixture looks like. So, I will bring this over here safely. So we have our milk facial, in case you were wondering. So with the roux and the milk, for the 2 cups to the 1 tablespoon of flour, 1 tablespoon of butter, creates just a nice little richer sauce. One of the tips that I learned very early on in restaurants and country clubs to find out if a sauce is thick enough, mostly creme anglaise for like bread pudding, which I didn't post the recipe for that, which I realized, sorry, I will post that soon. But when you put a wooden spoon in a mixture and you put your thumb or your finger across, and there's a pretty straight line of make sure there's no drippage, there's no runnage, and it kind of stays in its place, that's when you know the sauce is done. So that's like a little boop, and then my sauce is thick enough. It is hot, so be careful. Clearly you saw the steam, because we got a steam facial today, milk facial. Alright, so to this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, because the cheese already has salt in it, so you just gotta be careful with that so you don't want super salty macaroni and cheese. And you know I love me some black pepper, so I'm actually gonna do a teaspoon of this because I do like the black pepper in this. All right, so we have that, and then we have our little Mr. Yellow Mustard. More is more, but not when it comes to mustard with macaroni and cheese. This is something that hides in the background that's, you wonder, this is really great, but if you add too much, it can really ruin the macaroni and cheese, and I've done that before. Also too, side story, because I know I get sidetracked, do not add mustard powder to your apple pie. I grabbed what I thought was ground ginger, and it was mustard, and that did not really make for a great apple pie. Side note, okay. Alright, so about like a teaspoon, just like a little splash of it. That's an official term. Stir this around. Alright, so our bechamel is super hot, and this is when we're going to add the cheese. So I have our pound of cheddar, and then the 4 ounces of the Gouda, smoked Gouda, yeah. A little bit of our mozzarella. It happens. It happens. Oops, melted the bag too. And then our parm. This is in 6-ounce containers, so 3 ounces. And then I do continue with the whisk just to kind of get everything melted. And besides, I mean, this kind of is a one-pot plan because you can cook your noodles in this stock pot, drain it, put your noodles to the side, cook the lobster a little bit, then cook the roux, and then assemble it all in one pot, which is really nice. Less dishes for the person doing dishes. Look. Okay. Look at this. Look how cheesy and just delicious that is. That's gonna be really good mac and cheese. Like, can we do that again? Ooey gooey delicious. Yum. And you can see that those black pepper flakes, which I love. I use coarse ground black pepper, not the regular. Alright. I'm feeling kind of heroic today because I'm making this lobster macaroni and cheese. So I have my Spider-Man spatula. I don't know if we can say Spider-Man, but I have a Spider-Man spatula. Pew pew. Okay. So then we have our pasta. We'll add. And what's nice about this is it has a residual pasta water in it that makes kind of bind together a little bit more. Because you don't want the sauce so thick it's not gooey and gooey, but this looks yum. Okay, so we have our pasta in there. Before I forget, remember we were making this truffle. So a little truffle oil. Don't mind my cupboard, it's a little unorganized. Okay, so let's have a conversation about truffle oil. This is in truffle infused olive oil. And whether you get it true, pure truffle oil or truffle infused olive oil, a little goes a long way. So we will measure this, we will not eyeball this, because once you overpower with truffle, you can't take it away. There's no fixing it after you overdo it. So we're going to taste test. I'm going to do a teaspoon of that, and then we'll taste test because, again, you can always add, you can't take away. Yum. I hate to say it, this looks really good. Like, I can't wait to eat this. And you can eat it straight from the dish. You can serve this, which I'm going to do, or you can put it back or in the oven and put breadcrumbs on top. Whatever you prefer. Add the lobster, their juices, with the butter, I should say. This looks so good. This is such a great elevated way to make macaroni and cheese for a special occasion, or if you have to bring something over for a potluck. This is definitely what I would want to bring, and which I am bringing because I'm bringing it to my friends. Alright, we're going to taste this really quick for salt, pepper, and then also the truffle. Use a little bit more salt and a little bit more truffle. Just a tad, like a half teaspoon. Because it's there, it just, I want a little bit. Well, I said a half and I poured a full, but awesome. Yeah, because even that bottle being open, you can, it's permeating the whole kitchen. So it's pretty concentrated, so be careful. And then some salt. Use just a little bit more salt. So basically 2 teaspoons of salt at this point for the sauce. And then remember we salted the pasta as well. So regularly taste testing this or any dish that you make is really going to help you stay in control of those flavors. Okay, so we're going to taste this again. It looks so good. It is good because I just tasted it, but every time I stir it, it's like a new. Perfect. I'm actually going to put it into this dish. You can actually serve this right on the table, like this, which I normally would, but I have to transport this. I'm going to put it in this nifty little guy. He's heavy. There you have it. You do need some strength to this. Who knew you need strength for mac and cheese? But there you have lobster, truffle, Macaroni and cheese. Come cook with me. You should get every little bit. There's a little piece of lobster down there. A little piece of lobster everywhere. For the truffle macaroni and cheese.